If you have a hanging gate, you may very well be aware that you have a hanging gate, especially if that hanging gate is attached to an open throat or attached to a motor that has the potential to get energy to your throat. So this is a place where I want to bang my head on the desk sometimes because we come up with these little formulas and they're just not unilaterally true without looking at the entire context of the chart. And so when we start to memorize these little formulas, then we miss out on the juiciness that is the synthesis, not the parts. So I find that especially if that gate is pointing towards, well, it gets really complicated. So if it's pointing towards a motor or it's pointing towards a source of energy in your chart, then you might be very, very aware of that gate. A lot, because it is a theme that you know gains you access to energy some way, shape, or form. Adding another layer of complexity to it. If you have a hanging gate and you grew up in a family where people had the electromagnetic or the center, then you may also be really, really more aware of it because you're used to having it, it's partnership energy. And if you don't have it, you're like, woo, looking for it. And, oftentimes, especially before the age of, say, 30 or 40, it's what you are frequently attracted to in your more intimate relationships. So that's another bugaboo there in that theory. It's never dormant. Nothing in the chart is dormant. Let's eradicate that completely. If you have an open emotional solar plexus, it doesn't mean your solar plexus is dormant. In fact, quite the opposite. It means your solar plexus is constantly experiencing in an amplified way the energy of the solar plexus. It's not dormant. And once you decondition it, it's not like you're going to be walking through life like Spock, like never having an emotional spark again. And that's it. I'm deconditioned, right? It's like ridiculous. Human beings have emotional energy, and the openness tells you how you experience it. It doesn't tell you that you don't experience it once you decondition it. Wishful thinking sometimes for those of us who have an open solar plexus and live with people with a lot of emotional definition, but nope, doesn't happen. Okay. So nothing is dormant, but that starts to move into quantum human design. So traditional human design teaches you have your openness. It's been something that's victimized you for your entire life. You've probably identified with it and mistakenly thought you were your openness, which you are. It's still part of you, but traditional human design teaches you that it's the not self. That's not who you are. And that the goal in traditional human design is to decondition all your openness and become defined and live your definition. By the way, that's actually not how Ra used to teach it, just so that people know that. Ra used to teach that your openness becomes your greatest source of awareness. Your openness is where your wisdom lives. And that at a certain point, when you walk into a room with an open solar plexus, you can read the emotional energy of the room. And that becomes a piece of information that allows you to better be in response to whatever's going on in the room, right? So I don't know where in the traditional human design conversation it went to that part of you is dormant or is it's probably a vocabulary problem when Ra referred to conditioning as the not self and only talked about conditioning as being part of openness. I think it got confused and there wasn't a chance at a certain point for him to really flesh that out and clarify that because he passed away. So nothing in the chart is dormant. It functions differently. And in quantum human design, we teach that definition is part of your life's curriculum. It's themes that you experience within yourself that you emit to the world. And oftentimes in reflection, you get it reflected back to you because open people will reflect it back to you. It's themes that you get to experience consistently over time that are part of your maturation path and your growth cycle and your evolutionary story in this lifetime. Your open centers are places where you get to receive energy and information from others and from the transits. Those open centers, I think I've done this for you guys. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I did this in the membership the other day. But think of your openness as being like a basket, right? And anytime you have an open center and you encounter the defined expression of that energy, you make a collection of it. You put the collection of it in basket. Oh, this is what emotional energy looks like over here, and this is what it looks like over here, and this is what it looks like over here. Oh, and this is what it looks like over here. So eventually you have this energy basket with all these different understandings of how these energies work. Notice that I ran out of hand space before I ran out of crystals on my desk. Just saying. So, you basically accumulate all these different understandings of how that energy works. And when you encounter it in the world, or you need to draw upon that energy in the world, then you can consciously choose which one of those expressions you're going to use. So let's say you know your daughter comes to you and says, hopefully your mature daughter who's financially stable and has a good partner says to you, I'm having a baby. Well, if you have an open emotional solar plexus, that's not a I have an open solar plexus, whatever, that's great, bye honey, right? You're not going to not greet that with like, right? So that's a big thing. So you get freedom and you get choice in that openness about how you're going to choose which expression of that energy are you going to draw upon based on your understanding in that particular situation. It also gives you the opportunity to choose to not respond too. I mean, that's also very beneficial, particularly if we're talking about the solar plexus, right? Sometimes you want to walk in and you want to be what we call in my family the fuzzy blanket, right? There's an emotional fire happening. You're the fuzzy blanket. So the other real important difference to understand is that openness is not sustainable. That's the piece that's really also, I think, really the issue with the conditioning. So if I'm having open solar plexus and I'm living this all the time, right? Big feels all the time, I can't carry that energy over time and it will exhaust me and burn me out. So you can borrow that energy, you can use it in the short run, but it's not who you are, so you can't sustain it. So openness is unsustainable. It's experiential, it's expansive, there's variety in different ways that you can use it, but it's not sustainable, whereas definition is.